I find it fitting that it's raining outside while I'm recording this video. It just seems right in my opinion, considering one of the more iconic shots from the film, and also the thumbnail that I'm using for this video. It's raining out with the characters in this. Hey guys, what is going on? My name is Daniel Strunk from QuickTime Reactions, and once again, we are delving into the world of Japanese animation with an all-time classic, the film that was released in 1988. So this puppy is almost 40 years old, and I'm, of course, talking about My Neighbor Totoro. Now, I must confess, usually I like to watch the original film with, of course, the Japanese spoken language and the English subtitles. But the theater that I went to that was showing this was showing the American dub, so it had the English translation already there. Um, so that's like well, I wanted to get that out there. I did not watch the original, the Japanese spoken one with the English subtitles. I watched the American dub, which the American dub has a pretty good cast, I might say. Dakota and Elle Fanning are in this, as well as Tim Daly, Leah Salonga, Paul Butcher, Pat Carroll, and Frank Welker. Yes, the Frank Welker, who, of course, if you don't know who he is the legendary voice actor behind, well, I think many people know him as the voice of Scooby-Doo, but he has a long list of credits to his name, and he is an absolute legend of voice acting. So it was really cool to see his name listed in the credits as well. And this story revolves around a family moving out to a new house in the country. And there's, this story or this legend about, these creatures that, hide themselves in dark areas, only to be briefly seen for a little bit in light. And also the family encounters these creatures, which the little one, May, calls Totoros. And so they go on this lovely little adventure exploring the countryside with these Totoros in tow. This is, of course, a Japanese animation movie made by the legendary animation house in Japan, Studio Ghibli, and it is, of course, written and directed by the legendary Hayaomiyazaki. And that was one of the key reasons why I wanted to go and see this movie for the first time, was because I had already seen The Boy and the Heron, which might potentially be Hayao Miyazaki's last ever film that he ever makes. So I wanted to kind of continue on my road of watching films that were made by this legendary animation director. So I was like, all right, My Neighbor Totoro. Nice, like, easy little kids film for me to watch. And in fact, there were a lot of kids in the screening that I went to today. No, it is not quite that. It is such a charming little film. Like, they showed a behind the scenes making of after the film was shown, and Miyazaki talked about like the films of the 80s were, all about, action, gunfire, all this sorts of stuff, and he wanted to make a film about, innocence and purity and I think he succeeded in that aspect at tenfold because this movie was so so charming. Um, just the cuteness of this film radiated off of the screen, with our two main characters, which Satsuke and Mei, they were they were absolutely amazing, and I think having both Fanning sisters cast for the English dub, I think was an absolutely amazing choice. Um, that was genius casting. The father, it was also very charming as well. Very much kind of helped calm the kids' nerves, like whenever, because I think there was like a big windstorm that hit their home, and he's like, just laugh about whatever you want, and it'll make your fears go away. And I was like, oh, that's nice. That's nice and charming. Um, the design of the Totoros are pretty pretty genius in that behind the scenes featurette. Miyazaki was like, I didn't want to, you know, draw anything like a bear or a beaver. I think he said bear or beaver because that was already so intrinsically linked with what was it, Japanese dreaming or just Japanese culture in general. So he went for something um, that was not necessarily animalistic, which I thought was a really cool choice. And I really liked his decision of like making three different sizes of Totoros, which I think paralleled nicely with the three new people moving into the region, like the dad, the bigger sister, and then the little sister. And then you had like the big Totoro, the medium Totoro, and then the little tiny one, which I thought was really really cool. Um, the animation in this is absolutely stupendous. It's Studio Ghibli. What more do you expect from this? There was a really cool effect with the creatures that I talked about, where you catch them briefly in the light, where their movement almost looks a bit like TV static, if that makes any sense, where they're like wiggling around just like little bits in here and there, and it looked really really cool, and it just reminded me of like the TV static that you would see. The backgrounds are absolutely amazing. It's like, yeah, I understand that hand drawn animation, it takes time, it takes a lot of money, but dude, it's absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous to see it up on a big screen in such high definition. It's absolutely stunning. Um, and just the animation on all of the characters, especially that cat bus, I thought was really really cool and so unique and innovative. And I just think that hand drawn really stands the test of time. It never looks bad. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the CG animation that we have today, but there is just something about hand drawn that just makes it timeless. And another aspect that really makes it timeless is the score. Joe Hasaishi, I hope I'm saying his last name correctly. Um, he did an absolutely amazing job with this score. It really harkened back to, in my opinion anyway, the old school Disney animation films from like the 40s and the 50s, like your standard princess movies, like Snow White, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, all that stuff. It sounded really majestic and beautiful, and it was a real pleasure to listen to that, and it really enveloped you into the world that Miyazaki created. It was absolutely amazing. Um, and there were a few moments in this movie that almost had me into tears, and I'm like, dude, why am I crying? Why am I crying at this like kids movie? And then the thought clicked in my head. It was like, well, I had my introduction to Miyazaki through Boy and the Heron, which is, you can take your kids to it, but it is more, I think, tailored for adults, in my opinion. Whereas this movie, it is very much kid centric, in my opinion. But at the same time, it's like adults can also watch it and appreciate it for the old school animation, and also just the sweet and endearing characters that are in it. And if it gets their kids hooked into wanting to watch more of this, then you can eventually lead down to films like Kiki's Delivery Service, or the ones that they were shown in the theater, like Grave of the Fireflies, which I know I've heard that hits really hard, and I'm gonna try and find a way to watch that at some point. But if this gets them on the path of wanting to watch more of Studio Ghibli, then that's, I think, a job well done, in my opinion. But this is an absolute classic in every sense of the word. Beautiful animation, really sweet characters, an amazing score, just all around really good. I really don't have any complaints about this. This is an absolute classic. If for some reason you have not seen My Neighbor Totoro, I highly suggest that you do, because it is an absolute pleasure to watch. But that'll basically be it for my review of My Neighbor Totoro. Let me know down in the comments what other Studio Ghibli films I should take a look at, because I'm very much interested in watching some more. But that'll be it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Be safe out there, and remember, don't venture too far out into the woods. Or if you do, make sure that you find a Totoro, because he might be able to get you on a cat bus that can get you home safe and sound. Just have that in the back of your head. And I will see you guys next time.